sir. We are sitting ducks here. We have to keep moving!
Band of Brothers isn't just a war series. It's a haunting journey into the realities of World War II. But behind the camera, the making of this masterpiece carried its own disturbing truths that few people know. Fact 1. Before filming began, the entire cast was sent to a military boot camp run by actual paratrooper veterans. The training lasted 10 days and was designed to break them down mentally and physically. They slept in freezing conditions with almost no comfort. Drill instructors screamed orders from dawn until night, just like in wartime. The actors ate military rations and marched miles every day. Some of them vomited from exhaustion and stress. The idea was to make them feel like a real unit, not just actors playing soldiers. Damian Lewis said the experience bonded them in a way no rehearsal ever could. But it also left several cast members injured before filming even began. One actor tore his ankle ligaments and had to shoot with pain for months. Another collapsed during night drills and had to be revived. The camp created a raw authenticity that translated directly to the screen. Many of the actors said they still had nightmares about the experience years later. The instructors deliberately singled out actors playing officers to teach real leadership under pressure. This blurred the line between acting and reality even before cameras rolled. Producers later admitted they wanted the actors to suffer to honor the real soldiers. The emotional and physical toll was far beyond standard preparation. By the end of boot camp, they weren't just playing easy company, they were living it. The veterans who visited said the cast reminded them of their own brothers in arms. That praise came at the cost of broken bodies and sleepless nights. The boot camp wasn't acting, it was war without bullets. And that's exactly why Band of Brothers feels so painfully real. Fact 2.
What if they send us to North Africa?
My brother's in North Africa. He says it's hot.
Really? It's hot in Africa?
Shut up.
Band of Brothers wasn't just ambitious. It was one of the most expensive TV shows ever made at the time. The budget reached over $125 million for just 10 episodes. Each episode cost as much as a feature film. HBO and DreamWorks poured money into massive sets and authentic costumes. Entire European villages were reconstructed to match 1940s France. Hundreds of real weapons and vehicles were sourced from collectors and museums. Explosives alone cost millions, with some battle scenes using real pyrotechnic rigs. The show employed thousands of extras to create authentic military scale. Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg insisted on cinematic quality for every shot. The massive cost created enormous pressure on the cast and crew. Any mistake could burn through thousands of dollars in seconds. Filming battle scenes required weeks of coordination for just a few minutes of screen time. The producers admitted they were terrified of failing with such a huge investment. HBO executives worried the show might never earn back the costs. Instead, it became one of the most critically acclaimed series in history. The budget allowed the series to feel more like a 10-hour movie than TV. But behind the epic scale was constant financial fear. Some crew members said every day felt like walking a tightrope over millions of dollars. The pressure added intensity to every scene filmed. Band of Brothers didn't just recreate war, it recreated the stakes of making history. And the price tag proved that authenticity sometimes costs more than anyone expects. Fact 3.
You got some cigarettes?
The production didn't just aim for historical accuracy, it demanded it. Surviving members of Easy Company were consultants on the show. They read scripts, visited sets, and corrected even tiny inaccuracies. Costume designers had to match every patch, button, and boot to wartime standards. Weapon experts ensured every reload and shot matched 1940s training. Some veterans broke down seeing their old gear replicated exactly. The actors met the men they were portraying and heard their stories firsthand. Damian Lewis said it was both inspiring and terrifying. The weight of portraying real heroes made every performance carry more pressure. Veterans told the cast details that never made it into the scripts. Some of those personal stories shaped key scenes in the show. The veterans also demanded honesty about the horrors they faced. They insisted the series show fear, mistakes, and death without glorification. That input gave Band of Brothers its emotional authenticity. The actors often cried after hearing the veterans' first-hand accounts. Producers said those moments bonded the cast to the real Easy Company forever. Some veterans died before the series aired, making their input even more precious. Their families later said the show captured their loved ones' truth perfectly. Every salute, every tear, every muddy boot print carried their fingerprints. Band of Brothers became not just entertainment, but a living tribute, and that authenticity came directly from the men who actually lived it. Fact 4. Filming in England and Europe meant relying on unpredictable weather. Entire battle scenes were ruined by sudden rainstorms. Fog machines froze in the cold, delaying key shoots for days. The Bastogne episodes were supposed to be filmed in snow, but faced mud instead. Producers had to truck in artificial snow at massive cost. The cold was so brutal that actors couldn't feel their fingers during takes. Some scenes were shot while temperatures dropped below freezing. Damian Lewis said the cold felt like knives cutting through your skin. Equipment malfunctioned constantly in the icy conditions. Explosives failed to ignite, forcing expensive reshoots. The harsh environment added unplanned realism to the actors' suffering. The crew fought hypothermia alongside the cast. Producers later said the weather became another character in the story. It mirrored the real soldiers' struggle for survival in the Ardennes. The conditions left several actors with lasting injuries. Some days were canceled entirely, costing the production millions. But the misery translated into some of the show's most powerful moments. The fog and snow weren't just set dressing, they were real obstacles. That reality bled through every frame of the Bastogne episodes. The weather pushed everyone to their limits, just like in the real war. Band of Brothers captured the brutal cold of history because it had no choice. Sometimes nature itself becomes the ultimate director. Fact 5.
Captain Sobel?
Major Winters?
Captain Sobel. We salute the rank, not the man.
To maintain authenticity, several actors never dropped their roles. Damian Lewis and Ron Livingston spoke to each other as Winters and Nixon even offset. Some actors used their character names exclusively during the entire shoot. This created a strange blur between fiction and reality. Boot camp had already bonded them into a unit, and they carried that into filming. The cast held mock briefings and drills between takes. Even meals were eaten in character at times. Some actors refused to wash off mud and grime to stay immersed. The camaraderie built during off-camera moments showed on screen. Producers encouraged the method approach to keep the emotional tone consistent. A few actors even adopted their characters' accents off-set. Veterans who visited the set said it felt like stepping back in time. The immersion created a palpable tension during battle sequences. Some cast members said they forgot they were making a show at all. The experience was so intense that a few had trouble letting go after filming wrapped. Damian Lewis said leaving Winters behind felt like losing a brother. The method approach wasn't planned, but it became part of the production's DNA. It added layers of realism that no special effect could replicate. Every laugh, shout, and tear carried the weight of that immersion. Band of Brothers didn't just tell a story, it lived it. That dedication is why the series still feels so emotionally devastating today. Fact 6. Several cast members reported vivid nightmares about combat. Damian Lewis said he would wake up hearing gunfire in his sleep. Some developed anxiety even after filming ended. The emotional weight of portraying real men who died took a heavy toll. Actors carried photographs and letters of the real soldiers on set. That constant reminder blurred the line between performance and reality. Filming death scenes became emotionally crushing for the entire crew. Some actors broke down crying after takes and couldn't continue filming for hours. The producers brought in counselors to help the cast process the trauma. Ron Livingston admitted he couldn't shake Nixon's emotional weight for months. Even lighthearted moments on set carried an undercurrent of grief. Meeting the veterans made the pressure even more intense. They weren't just acting, they were honoring men who had survived hell. For some, that responsibility felt overwhelming. Damian Lewis later said it was the most emotionally draining job of his career. The weight of history sat on everyone's shoulders every single day. Producers called the experience A war of the mind. The show didn't just depict trauma, it created its own version of it. Many actors said they left the set as different people. The psychological scars became part of the series' haunting realism. Band of Brothers demanded authenticity, and it came at a human cost. Fact 7. To make the battles look real, the actors endured real physical punishment. Explosions were detonated so close that some felt the shockwaves in their chests. Flying debris hit several cast members during live pyrotechnic shots. Real mud, freezing water, and harsh terrain left bruises and cuts on everyone. Some days the actors were covered in grime for 12 straight hours. Heavy World War II gear weighed over 40 pounds and was worn non-stop during filming. Several actors suffered back and knee injuries from carrying it in rough terrain. Helmet straps cut into their skin during extended shoots. The production refused to clean up the actors to keep scenes authentic. Every bead of sweat and every shiver you see is completely real. Damian Lewis said the discomfort helped him understand Winters on a deeper level. The crew often apologized for putting the cast through such conditions, but the actors agreed it was necessary to honor the real soldiers. Producers later admitted they pushed the cast to their breaking points. Every bruise became a badge of honor on set. Some actors still have scars from their time filming Band of Brothers. The authenticity wasn't just on screen, it was lived through pain. That commitment gave the series its visceral power. Viewers feel the weight of war because the actors really carried it. Band of Brothers didn't simulate suffering, it recreated it. And that painful reality is part of what makes the show unforgettable. Fact 8.
Colonel Sink's a bit unhappy with the appearance of your uniform. He's not befitting to your rank.
Major Dick Winters, the man portrayed by Damian Lewis, was deeply concerned about the show. He feared Hollywood would distort the truth of Easy Company. Winters met with the producers and shared his personal journals. He insisted the series honor the men and their sacrifices accurately. Damian Lewis spent hours listening to Winters' stories to capture his voice. Winters told Lewis that leadership was about quiet strength, not heroics. That philosophy shaped the entire portrayal of his character. Even after seeing early cuts, Winters remained cautious. He worried the series might glorify war instead of showing its cost. When the final product aired, Winters reportedly wept. He told Lewis he had captured his soul on screen. For Winters, the series wasn't entertainment, it was legacy. He said the hardest part was seeing friends who never came home brought back to life. The weight of their memory sat heavy on his heart. Winters later admitted the show honored Easy Company better than he imagined. His approval gave the series its ultimate validation. Damian Lewis called it the proudest moment of his career. Without Winters' trust, the series wouldn't have had its emotional core. His nervousness showed how much the story mattered to the real men behind it. Band of Brothers became more than a series. It became a monument, and that monument stood on the shoulders of the man who lived it. Fact 9. Episode 2's D-Day jump was one of the most complex shoots in TV history. Hundreds of stuntmen, extras, and practical effects were used simultaneously. Each jump required perfect coordination between planes, cameras, and actors. The scenes were filmed over multiple nights with almost no sleep. Actors hung suspended in harnesses for hours to recreate the jump sequences. Several stuntmen were injured in rehearsals due to tangled shoots. The production created a massive soundstage to simulate the chaos of the sky. Explosives were timed to millisecond precision to mimic anti-aircraft fire. Damian Lewis described the shoot as organized madness. Crew members said it felt like staging a real invasion. The scale of the set was so huge that HBO executives were stunned. Filming stretched far beyond schedule and budget. Exhaustion made everyone irritable and emotional. But the payoff became one of the most iconic TV episodes ever made. Viewers praised the D-Day jump for its terrifying realism. Veterans who watched said it captured the fear of the real night perfectly. The episode pushed the cast and crew to their absolute limits. Every scream and panic-filled glance on screen came from genuine exhaustion. The D-Day shoot proved Band of Brothers wasn't afraid to risk everything. That episode alone justified the entire budget for the series. It became a benchmark for every war drama that followed. And behind that benchmark was a crew held together by sheer willpower. Fact 10. Filming the finale felt like saying goodbye to real brothers. The cast had lived as easy company for months. Wrapping the series left a deep sense of loss. Damian Lewis said the last day on set felt like losing family. Some actors cried after their final scenes. The veterans visited the set during the last week of shooting. Seeing the real men standing with their on-screen counterparts was overwhelming. Several crew members admitted they couldn't hold back tears. The final interviews with the veterans were filmed in near silence on set. Every person present felt the weight of history in the room. The cast stood and saluted the veterans when filming wrapped. Producers said it was one of the most emotional moments of their careers. The ending reminded everyone the story was never just a show. It was a tribute to real men and real sacrifices. Some veterans died shortly after the series aired, making the finale even more poignant. The final episode became more than an ending. It became a farewell. The cast later said they carried Easy Company with them forever. Even years later, reunions between the actors are filled with emotion. The series left scars, memories, and a bond no one could break. The final scene captured the spirit of brotherhood perfectly. Band of Brothers didn't just tell their story, it became part of it. Bonus fact. When the series was finally completed, the surviving members of Easy Company were invited to private screenings. Many of them sat in silence as they saw their younger selves recreated on screen. Some wept openly when they saw fallen comrades brought back to life through the actors. Damian Lewis said he could feel the weight of their memories in the room. One veteran whispered, "It's like seeing ghosts march again." The cast admitted they were terrified of letting the men down. After the screening, several veterans stood and hugged their on-screen counterparts. They thanked the actors for giving their brothers a voice one more time. Producers said it was the most emotional moment of the entire project. For the veterans, it wasn't just a show, it was a resurrection. Many families of fallen soldiers said it felt like saying hello to them again. The accuracy of the portrayals left some unable to speak. Damian Lewis recalled Winters telling him, "You honored them." That single sentence made the entire grueling production worth it. The cast later said no award could compare to that moment. For the veterans, the series preserved a piece of their history forever. It gave future generations a window into their sacrifice and courage. Some veterans passed away shortly after the screenings, making the moment even more sacred. The series became a bridge between the past and the present. It ensured that Easy Company would never be forgotten. In that dark theater, Band of Brothers became more than television. It became living history, blessed by the men who survived it.